assassination of Prime Minister Hariri.
بتمنى يوقف العهد التجاري والحدود التجاري.
بدنا اولادنا عندنا 15 ابن يخافوا الله.
Good afternoon on this Sunday, November 23rd. I'm Yumna Naufal. These are today's headlines. French President François Hollande congratulates Prime Minister Tamam Salam on the occasions of Lebanon's independence, while also pledging to support the former colony. Certain political parties in Lebanon are using the presidential vacuum as a strategy to achieve dangerous goals. Party leader Amin Jumail's words making indirect references to Hezbollah and the Free Patriotic Movement. And 2,500 Lebanese in Martyrs Square to celebrate the nation's 71st Independence Day, forming a giant U to emphasize unity. French President François Hollande congratulated Prime Minister Tamam Salam on the occasion of Lebanon's independence, while also pledging support to its former colony. France will continue to work more than any other time in the past of the interest, Lebanon's stability and sovereignty. This was a letter read and issued by Hollande to Salam. According to the French president, his country's support will manifest in the work of the International Support Group for Lebanon, which was established to help Lebanon cope with the Syrian crisis in terms of the overwhelming presence of Syrian refugees and the linked security crises. Now, he said he would pledge to help by supporting state institutions and the Lebanese army. He also expressed his satisfaction with the fact that Lebanon is garnering international support in an effort to reinforce its security. Certain political parties in the country are using the presidential vacuum as a strategy to achieve dangerous goals. Those are the words of Kataib Party leader Amin Jumail, making indirect references to Hezbollah and the Free Patriotic Movement. Delaying the election of a president, he says, has ceased to become a tactic to empower one leadership post against the other. He was talking at a speech in a ceremony celebrating the 78th anniversary of the Kataib Party's founding. The remarks were directed towards Hezbollah and the Free Patriotic Movement, whose MPs have been boycotting the presidential election for over 5 months now. Jumail said such a strategy does not violate the political system, but also the formula by which the country was founded upon. The former president's speech focused on Kataib's role in the history of Lebanon, stressing that the Lebanese must not forget they have an independent country with borders and a constitution. Hezbollah has refrained from commenting on the recent Saudi Arabian remarks about listing the party as a terrorist group in anticipation of an upcoming meeting between Speaker Nabih Berri and Saudi Ambassador to Lebanon, Ali Awad As-Sidi. It's said that the Speaker and Ambassador are scheduled to meet on Tuesday. Clarification over Riyadh's statements will be expected at the talks. Meanwhile, Berri has been exerting efforts to hold a meeting between Hezbollah and the future movement of MP Saad Hariri. Hariri's camp is reportedly meeting with Berri's aides in order to set the agenda of the expected dialogue between the party and the movement. His scheduled televised appearance next week will likely clarify a number of political issues. Now, after the menu of death scandal, a meat shop was shut in the northern city of Tripoli for failing to meet food safety standards. The national news agency said that the meat shop located at the Abu Ali roundabout was closed after spoiled food was discovered there. The meat was also packed and transported in a manner that violates food safety. A sample of the meat was taken and it will be subjected to necessary testing to determine whether it meets health standards. Health Minister Wael Abu Faoud has in recent weeks launched a food safety campaign throughout the country. He announced so far 3 lists of institutions that do not meet safety standards. They include some popular restaurant chains and supermarkets that are serving customers food contaminated with bacteria and other inedible substances. A number of shops and establishments have also been shut as part of the campaign, including the temporary closure of the Beirut and Tripoli slaughterhouses until they meet health regulations. Around 2,500 Lebanese gathered at the Martyrs Square in Beirut to celebrate the nation's 71st Independence Day, after the country just canceled all official celebrations due to the vacancy of the presidency the day before. Now, a huge U, as you can see on our screens now, was presented at the square, formed by the celebrators to emphasize their hope for unity. organizer said their aim was to appeal for an internal reconciliation in the government and also call on the Lebanese joining hands to solve problems. This idea came to mind when we saw what was happening around us in the Arab world and what's happening in some parts of Lebanon, and we are totally against it. We want to show the world that the people of Lebanon are against this and they stand united. These are the words of Najwa Badoudi, who is one of the organizers of this event. This year's Independence Day is marked by a presidency that has remained vacuum. The country's security has also suffered seriously from crashes between the government troops and extremists. Coming up next, Tunisians vote in their first presidential election since the 2011 revolution. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the 4:20 o'clock news here on Future Television. Israeli troops shot dead a Palestinian farmer near the border in northern Gaza in the first deadly shooting since an August truce ended a 50-day war. Emergency Services spokesman Ashraf al-Qudra identified the dead man as Fadil Muhammad Halawa, who is 32 years old, saying the bullet had hit him in the back. Qudra said the bullet appeared to have been fired from a nearby army watchtower at a man who was farming land near the border fence. One of Halawa's relatives said he had been searching for songbirds, which nest in trees near the Israeli border and command high prices in Gaza markets. The Israeli army said 2 Palestinians had approached the border fence and had ignored calls to halt, prompting troops to fire warning shots in the air. The army, however, did not confirm the man's death and had no comment on reports he was shot in the back. This is the first time a Palestinian from Gaza has been killed by Israeli fire since the 7-week war between Israel and Hamas militants ended with an Egyptian-brokered ceasefire on August 26th. Tunisians today vote in their first presidential election since the 2011 revolution that sparked the Arab Spring, and a ballot set to round off an often fraught transition to democracy. Among the 27 candidates, the favorite is former Premier Beji Caid Essebsi, an 87-year-old veteran whose anti-Islamist Nida Tunis party won a parliamentary election last month. Others vying for the presidency include outgoing President Munsif Marzouki, several ministers who served under ousted dictator Zain al-Abidine Ben Ali, left-winger Hama Hamami, business magnate Slim Riahi, and a lone woman magistrate Kalsoum Khanou. Some 5.3 million people are eligible to vote, with tens of thousands of police and troops deployed to guarantee security amid fears Islamist militants might seek to disrupt polling day. Tunisia has won international plaudits for largely steering clear of the violence, repression, and lawlessness of other Arab Spring countries such as neighboring Libya. Moving on to Iran, it signaled it is open to having nuclear talks with world powers extended by up to a year if no real progress toward a deal is achieved. This is the eve of a deadline. Foreign ministers holding marathon negotiations in the Austrian capital of Vienna have been deadlocked in their efforts to secure a high-stakes nuclear agreement by tomorrow. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who on Friday postponed a trip to Paris to remain in Vienna for the talks, met Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif, their fourth meeting in 3 days. German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier, also in the Austrian capital, called this final weekend of talks after months of negotiations a moment of truth. At stake is a historic deal in which Iran would curb its disputed nuclear activities in exchange for broad relief from years of heavy international economic sanctions. Back to François Hollande. Well, France's former First Lady Valérie Trierweiler will launch her memoir, Thank You for the Moment, in the United Kingdom on November 25th, giving her side of her tumultuous relationship with the struggling French president. Trierweiler is promoting the book in the UK with interviews with the BBC Newsnight and Andrew Marr show and an interview with the British newspaper The Times. The book is a bestseller in France and has sent shockwaves through French politics. Trierweiler was admitted to hospital after reports of an affair between her then long-term partner, President François Hollande, and French actress Julie Gaillet in January. The Paris Match journalist said that her memoir was not about exacting revenge. However, the memoir has stirred up huge controversy in France. French radio station RFI reported Trierweiler's agent as saying that the uproar caused by the book, which is reported to have earned the former First Lady up to 1.7 million euros, was because the contrast between Hollande's public convictions while privately mocking the poor. The father of a black teenager killed by police in the St. Louis suburb of Ferguson in the United States sought to ease tensions as protesters step up calls for a grand jury to indict the white officer responsible. The predominantly African American community has been on edge over the jury's expected decision. More details in this report.
The wait continues in the United States as grand jurors in Ferguson, Missouri decide whether to indict Caucasian police officer Darren Wilson for the killing of unarmed African-American teenager Michael Brown. The panel has been hearing evidence for the past 2 months, and a prosecutor says a decision is expected by the end of the month. Calm prevails for now, but no one quite knows whether demonstrations will turn violent. Tension has been mounting in Ferguson and elsewhere in the St. Louis area in recent days, with many speculating that the grand jury's decision will be announced today. Crews erected barricades around the building where the jury has been meeting in nearby Clayton. There is still real anger near the teenager's memorial and a feeling of resignation that Officer Darren Wilson will be cleared of all charges.
It's too many people out here, man. It's too much going on. We not getting what we supposed to be getting right now. We supposed to have justice for Mike Brown. They're not giving us that at all.
I don't see how they could kill him.
On Saturday, some police officers and residents engaged in a heated dialogue that could be a preview of things to come. A local volunteer at a nearby shop says he's nervous about the next few days.
Don't expect bad things to happen. I think there may be bits and pieces of it, but I don't expect it to be real bad, but it could. I know physically, I know I can feel it. It's tough to have the not knowing.
The 18-year-old African-American was shot dead on August 9th while walking down a street in Ferguson. The shooting sparked protests and more than a week of unrest in the St. Louis suburb. U.S. President Barack Obama has called for calm, while Missouri's governor declared a state of emergency and the FBI deployed extra personnel. But contrary to days of speculation, U.S. media reported that no decision will come this weekend, with the jury only expected to reconvene on Monday at the earliest. The jury can either indict Wilson, meaning he could face trial for Brown's death, or determine there is no case for him to answer.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. French President François Hollande congratulates Prime Minister Tamam Salam on the occasion of Lebanon's independence while pledging to support its former colony. Certain political parties in Lebanon are using the presidential vacuum as a strategy to achieve dangerous goals, Kataib Party leader Amin Jumayah's words. And 2,500 Lebanese in Martyrs Square to celebrate the nation's 71st Independence Day, forming a giant U for unity. Those are your Sunday headlines live on Future Television. Join us again tomorrow at 4:20 for a very special interview on the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.
And in the assassination of Prime Minister Hadi.
نتمنى يوقف العهد التجاري والحدود التجارية.
بدنا اولاد عمرهم 15 يخافوا الله.